Batman has always been seen as Gotham's eternal guardian, but behind the shadows lies a story of hope, love, betrayal, tragedy, and above all, family bonds. Welcome all to the story of the rise, the fall, and the rebirth of the Bat family. Chapter 1: The Beginning of a Family. During a stakeout at a construction site, Batman and Robin catch a trio of mobsters trying to sabotage an incomplete building. They manage to beat the gang, but two of them escape. Fortunately, Batman catches one of them, who is hanging helplessly for his life. Batman demands an explanation in the name of his boss. The criminal, Dolan, refuses to give it up. But when Batman shows he's not going to save him unless he gets the information he wants, Dolan blurts out the name Billy Marin. Robin grills him for more information, but Batman tells him to let it go and sends him to get the Batmobile. Robin does as he's told, leaving Batman to get the information himself. When they return home, Robin is left wondering who Marin really is, but Batman insists that Robin stays out of this one. He works alone for the time being. He uses the Batcave's criminal database to determine the real identity of the crime mob boss. To his shock, Robin discovers that Marin is really an alias for Tony Zucco, a man he crossed paths with nearly 9 years ago in an event that changed his life forever. As a young child, Dick Grayson was in a popular circus acrobat trio with his parents, the Flying Graysons. After finishing practice, Dick overhears the ringmaster, Mr. Haley, refusing to pay a young Tony Zucco for protection. Zucco leaves, telling him that he'll regret his decision. With a Wayne charity convention going on at the circus, Zucco, disguised as a worker, partially cuts through a trapeze rope to be used in the Graysons' act. When the show starts, Dick notices Zucco leaving the tent, but his parents don't give him a chance to warn them. During a portion of the trapeze act, a trick involving both his parents on the same trapeze is performed, and Dick watches from a platform as the rope snaps, and his parents, known for performing without a net, plummet to their deaths in front of his eyes. Upon hearing of Dick's telling of what he saw, Jim Gordon fears that he'll have no place to go, as he is a material witness. Bruce Wayne, who is in the audience, takes pity on the boy, as they are both the orphaned sons of parents murdered in their presence, and takes young Dick into his custody. Bruce gives Dick his old room and tells him that he'll always have a home there. Robin seethes over Batman taking Zucco away from him and thereby robbing him of his revenge. Although he's safe with Bruce Wayne, Dick is lonely. Meanwhile, after going undercover in an illegal gambling game, Batman tracks down Zucco at his Uncle Arnold Stormwell's mansion. Stormwell claims ignorance, despite Batman's hostility. After Batman leaves, however, Stormwell berates his nephew for his foolishness and rashness in murdering the Graysons, thereby causing Batman to turn his attention to them. Their argument is short-lived as the guards detect Batman on the property. Zucco tries to run over Batman with his car but fails. He then escapes and Batman feels haunted by not catching the Graysons' killer. As he returns to the Batcave, Alfred reminds him that Dick is feeling unloved and scared. He later comforts the boy and tries to make him feel better. Dick breaks down in tears and explains that he saw Zucco before the murder and knew something was wrong but said nothing, thus making him responsible. Bruce points out he felt the same way when his own parents died, and there was nothing either of them could have done as Bruce hugs him for the first time. After discovering the crook's identity and reliving the tragedy, Robin demands that Batman allow him to apprehend the man who murdered his parents. Batman refuses, but Robin sets out on his motorbike to find Zucco himself. Batman tracks Tony Zucco while secretly Robin seeks to find Zucco himself in order to avenge his parents' death. Robin decides that he'll just have to find Zucco himself. After Bruce took Dick Grayson under his care and having been living together for several days, Bruce and Dick have bonded very well. While they engage in a playful fencing match, Alfred then tells Bruce that Jim Gordon is asking to talk to him. Gordon tells Bruce that he's very convinced that Zucco might be trying to flee Gotham. Dick overhears this and decides to take matters into his own hands. After running away from Wayne Manor, he tries to track his parents' killer by showing people his picture, but not gaining very much success at first. However, while searching a rundown section of Gotham and avoiding Batman, who, unbeknownst to Dick, is also searching for Zucco, Dick rescues a prostitute being mugged by her pimp. Using his gymnastic skills, he defeats the full-grown attacker, finishing by jumping to grab hold of a fire escape, avoiding the mugger's charge and allowing him to rush head-on into a wall. The mugger gives chase, but Dick kicks him off the catwalk, sending him falling into a rubbish bin which closes, trapping him inside. The lady treats Dick to dinner at a diner. There, a waitress recognizes Tony Zucco and reveals that she's seen him coming from an abandoned building. Dick goes to the building and discovers that Zucco is desperately packing up to leave. Determined not to let him get away, Dick prepares to call the police, but accidentally steps on a can and alerts Zucco to his presence. Zucco catches him before he can make the call, but Batman arrives. In the ensuing scuffle, Dick falls into an aqueduct, forcing Batman to jump in after him while Zuko escapes. Batman rescues Dick before he can go over a waterfall and takes him to shore. Much to Dick's dismay, however, Zuko is gone. He screams at Batman, demanding to know why he let Zuko go. Batman brings Dick back to the Batcave and reveals himself to be Bruce Wayne. Seeing this, Alfred notes that Dick's temporary stay has become indefinite. Going to the home of the captured extortionist, Ferris Dolan, Robin uses a phone tracer to obtain Zuko's address. However, the call worries an already stressed out Zuko. Upon hearing some small sounds coming from the ceiling, he has a fit of paranoia and fires a submachine gun repeatedly into it. Unfortunately, the noise was Batman, who falls through the weakened building. Caught by surprise, he lands wrong and twists his knee. Zuko believes he has Batman, but his weapon is now unloaded. Batman hurls a smoke bomb at Zuko and his thugs manage to limp from the room. Hiding in the abandoned amusement park serving as Zuko's hideout, he barely has time to treat his wounds before being attacked by Zuko's pursuing henchmen. Though limping, he picks off the thugs one by one through the heavy use of stealth. He eventually ends up fighting several thugs on the merry-go-round and ties them to the horses. Unfortunately, Zuko is still after Batman and insane for having to spend 9 years of looking over his shoulder. He prepares to fire at the merry-go-round, even though he might hit his own men. However, before he can fire, Robin, still riding his motorcycle, crashes through the fence, rides straight at Zuko, and grabs him by the collar, dragging him behind the cycle to the end of a pier where the two foes fight. Robin gains the upper hand and throws Zuko toward the edge of the pier. He remains at a loss at whether to kill Zuko or hand him to the police, his eyes almost bulging out in fury. But Batman arrives and tells him to stop. Robin snaps at him but quickly apologizes. Despite his long desire for revenge, Robin shows mercy and hands Zuko over to the police. As the police take Zuko into custody, Batman explains that he distanced Robin from the investigation, not because he felt Robin might kill Zuko, but because he didn't want Zuko to take anything more from Robin, especially not his own life. Chapter 2, Cracks in the Armor. After years and years into the future, a lot has changed, and suits have changed owners as well. As Robin fights against pickpockets and thieves, one gains the upper hand and runs into the street. A shady figure flies off a building and tackles him. Nightwing emerges with the man who tried to run, with Robin remarking that he could have gotten him. As Nightwing shrugs it off and walks away, Robin remarks that he is just like Batman. Robin then asks him why he left the role of Robin, and Nightwing merely responds that things change, and he should ask Batman. Nightwing recounts his last days as Robin, just after he finished college at Gotham State University. Bruce Wayne misses Dick Grayson's graduation with highest honors in his batch because he was working in his capacity as Batman. Afterwards, when Dick is celebrating his graduation with Barbara Gordon, he's paged by Batman, who wants to meet him at a specified location from a tip that he had received. As Dick returns to dance with Barbara, he relays some worthless excuse for why he must leave. Batman is watching a warehouse and Robin arrives. They're preparing to investigate and foil the latest scheme by the Joker. The two are met with heavy fire by the Joker's thugs. When the Joker easily makes his escape from the dynamic duo, Batman, trapped, orders Robin to go after them. Following a henchman named Connor who is left behind, Robin encounters the man returning home to his family. Connor doesn't want anything to go down in front of his family, but before Robin can act, Batman crashes through a side window and pins Connor against a wall. Robin pleads with him not to make a scene in front of Connor's family, but when Batman doesn't respond kindly, Robin takes off. He later shows up at Barbara's apartment deep in the night as Dick Grayson, complaining about the situation. Eventually, he leaves as abruptly as he arrived with little explanation, since Barbara actually has no idea about his problem. Sometime later, Barbara is asking Bruce what has come between him and Dick. Understanding how he cares a great deal for him, he asks her to follow him, opening the secret clock entrance to the Batcave. As she descends the staircase behind him, bats flutter from below and she realizes what Bruce is showing her about Dick and himself. Bruce also informs her of his knowledge about her secret as Batgirl. Even Alfred is surprised to see Barbara at the Batcave. They're then alerted to breaking news on TV. Turning the volume up, the Joker is delivering a ransom note for his latest scheme involving a radar jamming device. Bruce asks Alfred to contact Dick, but he can't be reached. Bruce says that he'll need backup, and Barbara tells him that he already has it. After Batman and Batgirl leave to take on the Joker, Dick comes down to the Batcave asking where Barbara is after seeing her car in the driveway. When Robin arrives at the scene of the Joker's plan, Batgirl is thrown off a tower. Robin rescues her and the two fly to another building top, telling her that they need to talk. She interrupts him because there's work to do. As Batman fights against the Joker and his henchmen, Batgirl reemerges with Robin and tackles the Joker. When he begins to fire upon the three, and Batgirl directs his attention toward the radar jamming device, which is destroyed by the Joker's gunfire. Batman then grabs Batgirl and the two hanging from the building edge as the machine explodes and knocks everyone close to the ground, including the Joker. After the police arrive and the scene is picked apart, Robin is furious at Batgirl for not telling him her secret. She responds that he wasn't honest either, and that Batman already knew her secret. Redirecting his anger at Batman for putting Batgirl in danger, Robin says that they've grown apart and quit. When Batman tries to stop Robin from leaving, Robin turns around and punches him in the face, stripping his mask and cape off. As Nightwing finishes the story, he and Robin return to the scene of the earlier fight and find a wallet that had been stolen by the goons. After opening the wallet to see who it belongs to, Nightwing is shocked to learn that it's Connor, who now works as a night watchman at Wayne Enterprises. Returning the wallet, Connor relates to earlier encounters with Batman and how it changed his life. Bruce Wayne had given him a job and regularly checked on him, often inquiring about the well-being of his family. Nightwing responds that Bruce Wayne is a good man and he and Robin leave. The bat signal then comes on in the night sky and Robin says the duty calls, asking if Nightwing will join him, and Robin prepares to fly off. Nightwing remarks that it's about time and flies off with him to join Batman. Chapter 3. Rebuilding with Tim Drake. Once again, the years go by and on another dark, gloomy night in Gotham City, a young boy is being chased by an elderly police officer who demands the lad return his donuts. With a sense of acrobatics, the boy vaults himself onto a fire escape. Armed with a batarang, he wields it with excellent precision as it isn't the first time he's thrown one before, and manages to get the cop all wrapped up in a cloth line, allowing him to make his getaway. Somewhere across town, thugs Manny and Mo are kicked down the door. Just then, windows open and in creeps the same boy who was being chased by the police. The feisty boy makes his escape using the donuts and some ingenuity with a banister and a floor mat. The guy runs right into Two-Face. They take the boy to the docks to interrogate him. Two-Face orders a search for his possessions. One of the thugs finds a letter to Timmy saying that he has to leave town. Enclosed with the letter is a key. Recognizing it, Two-Face puts it in his jacket pocket and orders them to kill him. But before that can happen, a pair of batarangs whiz through the air, knocking the guns from their hands. Enter Batman. A fight ensues. The quick-thinking Tim manages to free himself from his bondage, but not in time to help Batman, who gets bashed with a crane's massive hook sent his way by Two-Face. Batman, obviously hurt with one arm over his abdomen, uses his other arm to scoop up Tim and lunge into the water below, just before an even bigger explosion. Down below the water, Tim assists the Dark Knight, who seems to be struggling with his wound. Tim wastes no time helping the wounded hero into the craft. With the last bit of strength he can muster, Batman voice activates the autopilot set to home. After a short, high-speed journey home, Alfred welcomes the two but is shocked to see a boy in the driver's seat. He immediately sees Bruce's injuries, and all the while, Tim is having a look around the Batcave. Alfred loses track of the lad who has just made his way up the stairs, through the clock, and into Bruce's study. The secret is out. Bruce Wayne is Batman. Just then, Batgirl appears from the shadows to take him back downstairs. Despite having just attempted to pilfer some cash and a watch, Tim insists that he's trustworthy. Batman, however, doesn't seem to care one way or the other, and is merely interested in why Two-Face is after Drake. Tim pulling out his batarang and using it to slice off a few stalactites. They're pretty impressed. Tim can only show them the letter that was with the key. The paper has developed an imprint of the key, which Batman immediately recognizes, as Two-Face had, as being from Gotham Airport. It's there that Batman and Batgirl ambush Two-Face and his cronies, yet Two-Face manages a getaway with the satchel that Drake had hidden in the airport locker. There's only one thing for Batman to do: give chase. In the end, the mobster gets away after Batman got stuck under the luggage car, making a narrow escape from a landing plane. It's back to square one and time to turn to some basic detective work. Shifty Drake's file is brought up on the Batcave's computer and, unfortunately for Tim, his father matches as John Doe found floating in the Metropolis River. Tim was behind them listening to every word. He guesses his father is dead and will never come back for him. At that moment, Alfred interrupts, saying there is something that should be seen on television. Indeed, it's Two-Face with his own brand of a public service announcement. If he doesn't get $22 million by 2 in the morning, he's going to release a deadly gas in Gotham. As Batman openly despairs that they have to find him before he wreaks havoc, Tim says that he's the old Janus Theater. Batman refusing to let Tim in on the bust. After they leave, he vents his frustration, and Alfred, seeing this, tells him that this is the way things are and always have been, even with the old Robin. At the Janus Theater, it's 2 minutes to 2 when Two-Face orders the masks brought in, obviously alluding to setting off the deadly gas. Just then, Two-Face declares that Batman is here. The 3 remaining cronies try to shoot him, but vault those same crates their way and they have to scramble out of there. Batgirl swings into action, laying one out. While the fighting continues inside, Tim is just arriving outside the Janus Theater on the roof of a bus, but he looks quite different. He's wearing the Robin costume. Inside, Two-Face's thugs keep the Dark Knight at bay long enough to set off the 3-minute countdown to destruction. Just then, he picks up a Tommy gun and fires it in their direction, ensuring they can't even get close to disturbing his scheme. All hope seems to be lost. Enter Robin. He does his best to stop Two-Face, but is simply not experienced enough to watch his back and ends up in the clutches of Puke-Face after all. Tim wastes no time pulling out his batarang and using it to cut the ropes holding a large grate above them, in a similar fashion he had earlier with the stalactites. Two-Face is too quick to be caught unlike his goons, but he runs straight into an angry bat. Saving the day is left up to Batgirl, who, at the 2-second count and out of options, rips out the wires from the inside of the contraption. Now all she wants is to go home. Tim enthusiastically chimes in agreement, but only gets a stern glare from Batman in return. Back at Wayne Manor, Bruce is brutally training Tim as they batter each other with pugile sticks. He also tells the youngster how it's going to be. Tim always gives him 110%. At that moment, from out of the shadows steps Dick, who tells Tim to watch out for the last rule, and that no one can be a boy wonder forever. Everyone is surprised and happy for the family reunion. Thank you for watching Second Look. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more awesome videos. Have a nice day.